the theory that I was talking about is actually a part of a much larger theory, and it's about Blackbeard actually. But so the premise is like the poetry of it is like Akainu is like a volcano getting ready to erupt, because we see how like frustrated he is with the chain of command and how frustrated he is with everything, because he thought that by taking the fleet admiral position he was going to have more control to pursue his justice, but he's realizing that the government's justice is no justice, it's only oppression. Their justice is oppression. So he's going to, so the theory is like, he's going to break away. And so the whole thing with like the Gorze too, like where he was questioning things, he was talking back to him. He was questioning about Emu, he's questioning about a secret ruler behind the scenes. So, but the overarching theory though is like basically in this time of like the world government breaking up due to all this exposure, probably by Morrigan's and whatever else, exposing the world, exposing all these things. And all this just creates worldwide chaos. The world government isn't what people thought. So the whole theory is like basically at some point, this is when the revolutionaries sack, the Holy Land. They take advantage of all of this. It's finally time. Boom. We already know they're gonna have an altercation with the Holy Knights at some point.
Not destroy it.
Yeah, like basically they go to destroy it. Well, they go to overthrow it.
Sacking is destroying.
Like,
so
okay,
yeah, exactly. So
I was like, because I was curious, like where the Marines fit and all that.
Somewhere in there, Akainu is still fighting. He's still trying to be an obstacle to both sides. So, my friend thinks that Sabo is going to be the one to fight him, but I'm not sure. I think even if Sabo does fight him, I think Luffy will probably have some moment of closure with him, where like maybe he gets a tag and he hits him and then moves on to something else, and Sabo takes the rest of the fight into his hands. So basically, the idea is like, while all this is going on, Blackbeard and the Straw Hats or something are on the way to Laughtail. So Blackbearded pirates come in, swoop in, and Blackbeard basically absorbs Emu's power into his own because it's actually a part of.
Bro, you telling us a fanfic at this point? Stop.
This is good stuff, man. He's cooking for sure.
No. So it's even way more to it than that. But yeah.
Oh my god. Miz, you just gave more story than the last two arcs combined. Like, geez.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, so
Those
the
are
whole
still the
idea
most
is
I've
like,
ever heard you talk.
So true.
Yeah, he has to figure.
He had a lot to get off his chest.
He brought up like Nav for like Hunter.
So the Nav part was actually my idea, but a lot of this is my friend's theory. Like we've discussed a lot of this stuff and gone over it. But yeah,
Tell your bro to write a book.
And I'm fine. I'm fine with Emu or Blackbeard being the final villain. I don't care which one, but this is the best theory I've ever heard so far. Like his
what?
Yeah.
That's the best one you ever heard?
Yeah. No. There's even more. There's a lot more to it.
There's a lot more.
Keep going.
There's a lot more. We got 300. We got 300 more chapters yet.
Bro, hold on. Time out.
That's only chapter 2.
I need to know something. So
yeah.
No, that's the best theory you ever heard. Nothing that happened in the story
from the end story. Yeah.
Oh no. So what about mine? When I had said mine. It's like I'm trying to remember now.
That's the second best. That's the second best.
Everybody in here heard mine, man. Don't give me that.
Miz, just tell him it was the second best theory you've ever heard.
The theory was great. I'm not sure what it was.
Although somebody mentioned Blackbeard, it made me think of something. So why did Blackbeard kidnap Kobe and then kidnap, or I guess do whatever they did with Garp? They've got.
We know why.
We know the Pirate King title is, at the end of the day, it's a stepping stone to both Luffy and Blackbeard, because we know they both have a goal that's beyond the Pirate King. It's just a means to an end. Like, we know Luffy has something beyond that we don't know yet, that hasn't been revealed. But he basically, it was said
Luffy is insane. Yeah, but at the same time,
and then Blackbeard, his end goal is to become king of the world, like Zebek. That's his end goal. Yeah. So I won't go back into the theory again, but there's more details that makes it more interesting too. But
is the idea that either Emu or BB's gonna be the final villain for Luffy?
Well, yeah, the idea with this theory is that Blackbeard is the final villain. So like, basically, it's kind of a mixture of Emu and Blackbeard to a certain extent, because basically the idea is that
let me guess, he assimilates him. He assimilates him into his power.
Yeah, so it's like that. I think his power is linked to Blackbeard's devil fruit, and so people like Blackbeard and Luffy have like, I don't know, because it's hard to say until we get more information. There's a lot of unknown things with devil fruits still, but they could be like origin fruits. So the idea is that there's like a dark D. So the counterpart to Luffy and his Nika fruit is like the dark D.
Whoa.
And Yeah. So
It's
the
gonna suck.
idea is that way back in the voice entry, there was like a counterpart of Zebek and Blackbeard basically that existed, and potentially put Emu in power, and basically or something along those lines. Basically, that the power of the residual something with that fruit is what resides in Emu, and it's kind of like a possession almost, where it's like this dark. Basically, it's the parallel of like Lucifer, so we call them Mucifer, MU, and there's a whole thing with that, with like a lot of theories people have made with Mu, because there's like the Empire of the Sun and the Subterraneans and all types of
There's a
stuff.
tie to void and space, and then maybe being gravity and darkness, and then how those two kind of coincide with one another in some sense of the abyss, or the everlasting, unescapable darkness. And then Luffy's the sun god, life and light.
So another thought about it is like, because Blackbeard's fruit is strange because it seems it's labeled as a Logia because it's naturally occurring, but it seems more of a paramecia because it doesn't function the same. So the idea is that the reason it doesn't, or the reason why there's a confusion, is because it's not the full power, because like Emu has a part of the residual like power of the fruit or whatever.
So are you saying that like
Lucifer is like the demon.
Are you saying like
Mucifer is like
Mucifer.
the person of the fruit, and Blackbeard just has like the fruit, but it's like a weird thing. So the whole idea is that when he absorbs Emu, he's getting back to the full power of
that's so he awakens.
Right, so it's basically like the next level, and then he takes
Blackbeard
over the world.
absorbs Mucifer,
he achieves
Emu,
his goal,
and then becomes
he becomes the new
awakened.
ruler of the world, and now the Gors, anyone who's remaining in the world government, is now is subject to him, because now.
So then, so then are you saying that in actuality? So then are you saying in actuality his ability is not the Yami Yami, but it's actually the like. He's the human fruit model Emu or Mucifer.
Yeah, I had a similar theory, but it's like not. Yeah, like as I mentioned that
Is it also 300
no, it's not. It has to do with like the devil fruit hierarchy, like because like Akainu's fruit is superior to Ace's, and I also thought the same way, where like Emu's powers is superior to Blackbeard's, and it's just more of a superior darkness.
He's the strongest Logia though, so how would he be superior to that?
By the book's definition, he is. Well, supposedly he is, but like you have like outliers like Nika, where it's just not really mentioned in the book. So it could be the same thing with Emu.
Wait, but remember, it's mentioned in the old book. Vegapunk said before that in the old text there's Nika in the different encyclopedia, but not the new one because that was erased. So that would mean that there'd be two devil fruits, not just Luffy's, but also Blackbeard that was changed. So the Yami Yami before was Mucifer, or whatever you want to call it. And it was changed for some weird reason.
But like it could be like where Blackbeard has like the more modern version, not the ancient one.
But the book themselves would be changed. So like the idea is that in the ancient text, according to Vegapunk, there is Nika mentioned there. There is no Gomu Gomu fruit. There is the model Nika fruit. But we're applying this factor to Blackbeard too, where his fruit is not actually a Logia ability. It's a mythical zone ability like Luffy. He's the counterpart. So he is the yang. He's the yin to Luffy's yang.
He's the one that doesn't sleep. So Luffy is the dreamer. He's the sleepless one. So it's like he can't dream.
Someone said Davy Jones. Whatever.
That's the idea too. Yeah, that's his idea, is that maybe Davy Jones was the one from back then.
Like, so it's Emu Davy Jones.
No, his idea is that Davy Jones was like a third party kind of a situation, and somehow Emu. I'm not sure how Emu was set up into power. There's so many possibilities because there's so many unknown factors.
With the Blackbeard thing though, him having Moria and him not being able to sleep, and then how Moria fruit ties into darkness too because it's shadow, but it's like it doesn't, like he doesn't transform like a paramecia, but it looks like Logia abilities, but shadow how Blackbeard's darkness. So like, what if like it might be something going on there, like because Moria fruit is supposed to make you fall asleep if he does something with your shadow when he snips it.
Yeah.
And then like he has control of Moria. So I feel like they experimented with his fruit and done something or needed for some kind
of. Okay. just because fruits sometimes can help each other out, or they have some nice combos, doesn't mean that like they're tied to one another in terms of the actual powers themselves. So, like, in theory, if you have Monet and Kuzan team up, their powers work very well together. Let's say even Oven and Ace, their powers work very well together too, in theory. Blackbeard's powers work very well, you could argue, with someone like, let's say, Moria, because they're shadows. And then let's say that would help his power, that would help his own shadow gravity expand in even crazier ways and be more, let's say, he can make crazier shapes with them, he can target things, target people in a greater way, fair enough, fine. But that doesn't necessarily mean that like there's like anything of a real substance there in terms of that connection. They just like, have complementary powers. That's really it.
I think I said that the wrong way. I was trying to more so say like how he was saying the magma's better than the fire. I was more so trying to get at like Moria's shadow fruit is like better than the darkness, and it's like the same thing.
How though, bro? I don't see how it's possible.
If there was like a hierarchy, the darkness fruit would be at the top.
Yeah. So like Emu is a silhouette shadow right now, but we're not even too sure if Emu is void or if he's like emptiness. We're not even too sure. Emu could be a Zoan ability user that's like Umibozu. So Emu could be like a watery sort of creature of some kind, like let's say manipulate water in some way, and has nothing to do with darkness or void or space. It could be something like that sort. Because Emu did become like hella big, like extra big when it came down from the throne room. So it could be something of that sort. It doesn't involve darkness or space, like that shit. But if it does, then okay, I can see why someone like Blackbeard would want that power. But let's say his final Zoan ability. So he has the Logia, he has the Paramecia, and then boom, Zoan. And they have all three of those abilities be just nuts. Fair enough, fine. But hold on, but how do you even know that? How do you even know that Emu has a shit?
I mean,
Laffy.
That's a good question. Bro,
we're putting a lot of money on Laffy. Oh shit.
But he's the chief of staff, so he's high ranked within the organization.
Okay.
I definitely think he's going to be fighting Sanji. So another thing too is like the idea of how Blackbeard's fruit affects him to where he takes ×2 the pain. So his theory behind it is that basically Emu is like the counterpart of that, to where he dishes out ×2 damage to devil fruit users. So like that's why Sabo was more affected by the attack than Cobra was. When Cobra took 2 attacks, Sabo took 1, and like, you know, he was still able to walk and like grab Cobra and dip, but he was like, it was affecting him for a long time. Like it was hard for him to recover. It was like lingering damage.
So
but
power
it seems like
it
might be, it might deal like double damage, like hacks basically.
That tail, whatever it was, okay.
Users, yeah. Oh, and possibly it's because Mucifer would be like the hierarchy, like top of all the devil fruits, as like, you know, it's like the grand leader of.
But then what you're saying, or like your friend's theory, is that
dark
Emu itself is not, because remember how Ivanko said that Emu should be of like the Nirona family. That's the idea that you get from Ivanko, the Nirona family.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying no, they're more likely either the vessel or the fruit itself, and it's acting independently in some way.
Well, that person could
until BB takes it back in.
Well, that person, I think Emu was potentially still that person from the family, but it's just that that person became the vessel of Mucifer, basically, or something along those lines.
Mucifer, bro. Keep in mind that a lot of this go out the window, or it's in the face of the idea of Umi. So Emu flipped around means Umi, sea goddess shit, and then it's like they're actually an Umibozu water entity of some kind, rather than, you know, an actual darkness, shadow, void, space, whatever entity of some kind, you know?
Yeah, and that was my whole thing in the past, because I remember I proposed that a while back, like with the whole Thriller bark thing and how the big ass shadows showed up, and it's like, man, I feel like they just been like watching Luffy this whole time, like suspicious, like Emu and the Gorosei just been having surveillance, like
those shadows I think could actually tie to Nirona, if I'm being honest with you. Like maybe Nirona is actually in the Florian Triangle. But I also feel like that ties to, hear me out, I think it ties to more extra dimensional shit, because the Florian Triangle, well, the Bermuda Triangle has lores and themes that are tied to potentially another plane of existence, and a lot of that's being brought up by Vegapunk when it comes to like how these things, fruits, ties to another plane of existence in terms of their power source. And that could also be why they have infinite power, because this power comes from another plane of existence, potentially. So that's why I feel like Luffy, when it comes to his power source and what the Nika is, and why he can make goggles out of thin air, and why he's a sun god, and so on and so forth, this could pertain to this sort of extra dimensional zany shit. And then Emu is like the reverse of that, or like the sad girl version of that, potentially. But I don't know that it means they are void or space. Like maybe a component of their powers is void and space oriented, just how a component of Luffy's powers are fire oriented, like the sun god. Maybe.
Well, yeah. So the idea of like the whole thing is Blackbeard waits until, you know, Dragon and everything has weakened Emu and Emu's forces, and then he swoops in like he usually does, you know, swoops in at an opportune moment. So it's almost like him and Dragon are both chess masters, and like Blackbeard's waiting. And there's also a possibility of this, because I had this idea earlier, which I never thought of until earlier when I was explaining it. What if when Blackbeard infiltrated one of Dragon's bases, revolutionary bases, he found like some of Dragon's ideas or plans, and then maybe he bases some of his plans off of Dragon's plans, and he's waiting for Dragon to make his move. What if that happens? And then we get a flashback like he's
so
like,
the moment Dragon decides to take down the entire world government, in comes BB. Now it's time.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having him tied to Emu. I think that's like a very good play here. But I think it's more so you can like usurp him, because he wants to make his own country, and then ultimately rule the world. I don't know if Emu's powers have any ties to BB and the Yami's powers directly. I don't know if that's actually the case or not. We have to wait and see, though. You could be right.
The next day,
there was more to it, but I just had forgotten it. But I posted that part, or part of that in the garden, because he was saying that like mu equals void/dream in the Japanese. So basically, his idea is like Emu, or the Yami is like the counterpart to the sun god Nika fruit.
Yeah. So real quick, so I got to you're seeing that because I see your the thing. So mu equals void/dream in Japanese, and teach as being the Yami user is the sole commander of all void, making the Yami no Mi whole again. I theorize that Emu is a Zoan deity of the Yami, extracted in the Void Century by the Dark Joy Boy. Joy Boy's counterpart D, like Blackbeard to Luffy or Rocks to Roger, and bonding it to Nirona, thus removing the Zoan spirit but leaving the residual darkness and void behind. The authors of the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia weren't omniscient. They classified Yami as Logia because they thought it was darkness and naturally occurring phenomenon, despite it acting like a paramecia. Nika represents Joy Boy and liberation. I use a placeholder name for the evil counterpart Nika. Mucifer being melancholy and law/restriction. Emu's law. Emu is law and the leader of the world government. So Emu being placed as law/leader of the world government, and Teach being the melancholy sadness. As we see him drawn as a child, he's crying in the crescent moon. We know he can't sleep, so he can't dream. Likely the reason for his sadness and the root cause of him to want to achieve the pinnacle of power and influence in the material world to compensate for his lack of dream.
It's like the whole thing of like, if the fruit of the Yami no Mi is like basically the counterpart to the Nika fruit, and they're like the two supreme fruits in the verse, and then basically like the spirit of the Nika fruit was taken out of, like the Yami no Mi and put into like Nerona or whoever Emu is or whatever that is. So when Blackbeard reabsorbs the spirit, then the fruit is made whole again, so he goes to like another level of power.
I just don't like the idea.
Wait. What's the Nika spirit doing inside the Yami fruit?
It's not Nika.
It's not the Nika.
No, it's the evil. It's the counterpart of Nika. It's like the evil Nika. So just how you have a Joy Boy, and so like Blackbeard has Luffy, then you have an evil Joy Boy. So you have a sad girl, right? So you have the sad girl, and then you have the Joy Boy. That's the idea. And then so sad girl, who is Emu, or whoever's possessing Emu. So like Emu was a saint who got possessed by sad girl's spirit, but then the Yami ability is a piece of sad girl's powers too. And so the idea is that Blackbeard with the power of Sad Girl, technically speaking, will then reabsorb Emu of Neona, who has the other piece or the other Horcrux of Sad Girl to have the whole
this
Voldemort.
has very much Harry Potter situation going on.
Crazy shit.
This reminds me a lot of Kami and Piccolo from Dragon Ball.
Yeah, actually, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the idea is like Luffy's fruit and Teach's fruit are like out of the ordinary. They just are strange. They are different than other fruits in the verse. We know this, and like how Luffy has this Zoan god fruit, but yet it has Paramecia like abilities in it, and it's like the real power and the real truth of it is unlocked only once you awaken, where it's almost like it becomes a new fruit.
Well, because like Luffy has the only fruit right now that is after a One Piece specific deity, Nika, and then this seems to be unique to him, where he's a sun god, but he's not like Raw or like Horus. He has what? He has He has the body of rubber,
fire,
and then he has fire at times, and then he can make goggles out of thin air. Like, oh, that's weird. So it's like he just seems to have his own unique set of skills, even though he's not, but he's a sun god. So like, the idea is that there's a counterpart somewhere of that, and that counterpart would be Blackbeard.
Well, the Yami fruit is kind of misunderstood and mischaracterized or because it's
that's
like
a theory.
They classified it as a Logia, right? But yet it doesn't have the same. It doesn't seem to have the same properties of Logia. Maybe if he absorbed Emu, it would. I don't know, but maybe it's like it's basically there's a secret layer to the fruit that either Teach doesn't know or maybe he does know and hasn't gotten to yet because he has to absorb Emu. Right,
but
and then Emu would feed into him unlocking the full fruit, and then he would have like what Luffy has, where he's happy.
Yeah, so like in short, I suppose the idea is that Blackbeard has to absorb Emu in order to awaken, in like some sense. And then that's because the fruit will be at its whole at that point in time.
See you. Bye bye.